Hello Magic fans, I'm Beef and welcome back to another Historic Brawl gameplay video. And we've played Fire Lord Azula and now we are playing her brother, I think, Fire Lord Zuko. Again, not seen much of a show. So I think they're brother and sister, but if I'm wrong, please correct me. So Fire Lord Zuko is 3 colours in Mardu, red, white and black. And when I first saw the card, I was very much like, oh, this is Prosper at home. And actually, I think it's better than Prosper. So who is Fire Lord Zuko? Is a 2/4, which is not bad stats for 3 mana. Has 5 bend in X, where X is the Fire Lord's power. So 2 at the base level. But it says, whenever you cast a spell from exile, and whenever a permanent you control enters from exile, we put a +1/+1 counter on each creature we control. Now that's busted. And the wording didn't confuse me, but I did think, oh, they just changed the wording for it. Because if we look at Prosper, and we do have Prosper in here, obviously the wording is, whenever you play a card from exile, you create a treasure token. And I at first thought it'd be the same as that, but it's not. The wording around whenever you cast a spell from exile, yes, but whenever a permanent you control enters from exile, so if we play a land from exile, that, but also if we flicker a card, like with Ephemerate, obviously we exile it and it comes back onto the battlefield, that counts as playing a card from exile, or a permanent enters from exile, so that triggers it as well. So that can get very, very powerful. Now we are a very go wide deck. We have 41 creatures, which is a lot for a Brawl deck. We don't have a huge amount of other things. We have 10 instants, 7 artifacts, 5 enchantments, 2 planeswalkers, and 38 land, but a couple of MDFCs as well. So ways to cast spells or play spells from exile. So we have in the columns Warp, Adventures, Heist, and Discover, and then Airbending. So quickly, just go through the Warp ones. If you don't know Warp from Age of Eternities, you can pay the Warp cost to put the creature into play. Most of the time, they are cheaper, even though I think there might be a couple which are more. No, there's not. That doesn't make any sense. They're always cheaper, and then you exile it at the beginning of your end step, and you can play the card from exile later on. So obviously, we can Warp, get the benefits for them, and then play them later from exile to trigger Fire Lord Zuko. Tanuk doesn't have Warp, but it gives all our artifact cards and red creature cards Warp, or in our hands Warp, and other creatures we can drive haste. And Axavar is an alchemy card, and it has, we can Warp it in for 1, but it also says Void. At the beginning of our end step, if a non-land permanent left the battlefield this turn, or a spell was Warped this turn, we discard a card and then heist target opponent's library. So we can double up that. We can Warp it, get that heist, and then play Axavar later on and get multiple Fire Lord Zuko triggers. Next up, we have Adventure. Obviously, with all these, we can just play the Adventure side. Heartfang Judas for some removal, Murderous Rider for some removal, Bone Crush Giant for removal, Deccan Dragon. The instant side exiles our opponent's cards, so obviously that triggers Fire Lord Zuko, and then Virtue Persistence also from removal, and then we can play them all from exile later on. And Heist is just a really, really annoying mechanic, headed up by Grenzo Crooked Jailer, a 6 mana 6/4. This is the nerfed version. When Grenzo enters at the beginning of your upkeep, Heist target opponent's library, and then once each turn we pay 0 rather than paying the mana cost for a spell you cast that you don't own with mana value 3 or less. The unbusted version, sorry, the unnerfed version is it's not mana value 3 or less. And obviously this is when it enters at the beginning of upkeep, we can just heist, play cards from exile, trigger Fire Lord Zuko. Imperious Lootmonger, when it enters, we can discard a card, then heist target opponent's library. And whenever we cast a spell we don't own, we create a tap treasure token. And then Grave Expectations, 1-mana instant, we'll be choosing heist target opponent's library. Next up we have Discover. Obviously Discover, when you cast that spell, it is from exile. Quintorius Can, we do get benefits from casting a spell from exile. Deals 2 to each opponent, and we gain 2 life. And then we can -3 to discover 4, and +1 to create a spirit token. And then we can ultimate to exile any number of target cards from our graveyard, add a red for each card, exile this way, may play those cards this turn. Scowl Soul Gnome, a 5 mana 3/5 trample haste, where it deals combat damage to a player. We discover X, where X is that damage, but whenever we play a card from exile, we conjure a duplicate into a hand. So it's an alchemy card, but very, very busted in a deck that wants to play cards from exile. Troubling Carnosaur, we can discard it for 3 and deal 3 to a target creature, or Planeswalker, but we can pay the full 6 when it enters discover 5. And then Chimil, the Inner Sun, at the beginning of our end step, we discover 5, just repeatedly triggering the Fire Lord. And also it has a benefit of our spells being uncounterable. And then we have Airbending. Airbending Ascension. When it enters, airbend up to 1 target creature. It doesn't have to be our one, but it can be our one. Obviously, we can then play it for 2 from exile. Appa, Steadfast Guardian. When it enters, we airbend any number of other non-land target non-land permanents we own, and whenever we cast a spell from exile, we create a 1/1 white ally creature token. And then Aang, Airbending Master, a 5-mana 4/4. This is from the extra set. There is a cycle of cards that play with experience counters. So when Aang enters, we airbend another target creature. Whenever one or more creatures we control leave the battlefield without dying, we get an experience counter. At the beginning of the upkeep, we create a 1/1 white ally creature token for each experience counter we have. Now that's really powerful because if we flicker our cards, that obviously counts as leaving the battlefield without dying, or if our opponent exiles our cards, it does count as leaving the battlefield without dying, and we can just go wider and wider and wider. Now there are obviously the experience cards in red and black, but they're not really good. Well, I don't think they're really relevant for this deck. Azula, it's whenever an opponent discards a card, you put you get an experience counter, and you can pay mana to give her +1/+1 for each experience counter she has, and menace. And the red one it's another Zuko. You get an experience counter whenever you cast a spell during your opponent's turn, but we don't have a lot of spells, so that's why we're not really playing them. But it is interesting that you get the experience counter, not the card. So if you get a lot of experience counters from Aang, for example, because you always having creatures leave the battlefield without dying, that is relevant for the other ones. Just be aware. And this huge pile is everything else that can exile things. Either flicker our cards, exile cards from our opponent's library that isn't heist, exile our cards, like Ragavan, for example, is relevant in all red decks, but we do get additional value for this because obviously it exiles a card from our opponent's library, and that's really, really powerful. We do have, obviously we have Prosper, we have Rarity of Fulcrum, which acts as a bit of ramp as well, but there is a really interesting, good synergy between Aang Airbending Master and Taster of the Ghost Council. So Taster, 4-mana 0/5 with start intensity 0. When she enters, we create a 1/1 white and black spirit creature token with flying, and we increase her intensity by 1. And spirits we control get +X/+0, where X is Taster's intensity. So when you play her, she'll be a 1/5, and you'll get a 2/1 white and black spirit creature token. But at the beginning of an end step, we may exile Taster. If we do at the beginning of a next upkeep, we return her with haste, and then obviously her intensity goes up, we get another spirit. If we have Aang Airbending Master and her on return on the battlefield, it just gets busted. Because when we exile her at the end of our turn, that counts as a creature leaving without dying, so it triggers Aang, and then obviously when she comes back in from exile, trigger Fire Lord Zuko, and obviously we've got one more experience counter, one more ally, one more spirit. So just basically those 3 cards is just an incredibly powerful engine, and we're going to have more than that. Next up, a very small pile of, while we don't have a lot of instants or things to use our fire bending mana on, we are going to generate a lot of it. So we do have Bayo, Irritable Instructor, which is Electro from Spider-Man, and Leyline Tyrant that do very similar things. Basically, we don't lose unspent red mana as steps and phases ends, so that means we keep it for basically the rest of the game. We also have Ozai, the Phoenix King, which it turns unspent mana into red. So similar thing, and that way we can have that mana during our main phases and other turns to cast things. And next up, everything else. Esper Sentinel is pretty powerful because if we can buff it with Zuko, which we probably will, obviously our opponent has to play increasing costs when they play their first non-creature spell, and there's some removal in there as well. We do have Dockside Extortionist, new on Arena, but I'm banned in Commander now. 2-mana 1/2. When it enters, create X token territory tokens where X is a number of artifacts and enchantments our opponents control. Obviously, a lot more powerful in a 4-player Commander game, but even in a 2-player game, if you are playing against someone who gets out a lot of mana rocks or enchantments or whatever, you can create a huge amount of treasures as well. PNLR's powerful as well, because it does have a similar trigger to Zuko. When we play a land or cast a spell from exile, we create a 1/1 colorless creature token with flying, and obviously that will then get buffed by Zuko. Mana base is as you would expect, just lots and lots of fetch lands and dual lands for Mardu colors. So this is a really, really powerful deck. I'm surprised how powerful it is. Yeah, it's a scepter removal, but it can be so quick because Fire Lord Zuko is pretty cheap, and then hopefully you can just have lots of ways of playing cards from exiles or heisting your opponent or whatever. So absolutely insane, absolutely bonkers. There is a game, it'll be the first game on there, I think it's 20 minutes long, and eventually our opponent scooped, but I think we were going to win that one. It just goes goes wide and goes high hard. So I really hope you enjoy it. If you do, please remember to like and subscribe. And I'll give a shout out to my patrons, Arcadius, Mihal, Thomas and Adrian. Thank you very much for your support. Thank you everyone else for your support. And I'll see you all in the gameplay. We go first. All right hand. Play the triome. We'll play out a Ajani. Next turn we can get down the Fire Lord. Let's play Yawn Human. Let's attack him with you. We don't have a 4-drop, unfortunately. Oh, they do have an Adagia. And I think we just hold up a Takanuma. Ooh, that's a good way to tap everything. Yeah, let's just channel Takanuma. Well, we literally hit nothing. Let's do Expensive Taste. They have a Deccan Dragon as well. We'll hold back. It's a shame we couldn't cast that split up. Oh no, that's our Deccan Dragon still, obviously. Duh. I don't think... Yeah, they can't see that we got their split up. So we can cast it, hit tap creatures. Yeah, we'll put you back into the command zone. So at least that's in their entire board. But what we'll do is we'll attack with our cat first. Destroy all tap creatures. That way we transform our Ajani. Let's just tick up and we'll play out a Ragavan. Obviously, they can recast Amara pretty easily. We could ultimate as well. We'll take that. Since we're not getting through anyway. Let's ultimate you. Let's play out you. And a Godless Shrine. We can play out Ozai. Oh, good. Heliod. Well, that can attack down Ajani. That's kind of annoying. If assuming they do, yeah. They do have 1 mana left. They put the boots back on Amara. They do not. I'm now torn because Urabrask. I think let's get an Urabrask because that gets our engine going. We started at 25. They're down to 21, up to 22. Wait, what? How? How do they have 2 Conclave Tribunals in Brawl? Oh, they would have drafted it from other Amara spellbook. That's annoying. Well, let's get down Ozai. We do give Ozai fire, indestructible, and trample. What does that do? Oh. We will. Let's airbend Ozai. and we can recast you straight away. We have a quest counter. Experience counter. This is a long game. Well, are they going to copy Conclave Tribunal? Yeah. We do have a Get Lost. Well, let us get down you. Don't think we need more lands for now. Well, let's get down a wrench. What happened to the rest of them? Bottom of a library. Why don't we take the boots? And yeah, we'll take a planes. And let's get down the boots. Yeah, swinging for 4. Next turn we can play Zuko, play out the planes. Well, that's annoying. What do they do? Just chump you. Yeah, they gain quite a lot of life. Oh, Taser's good. But for now, get down you. Buff our board. And next turn, yeah, we get down Taser. So what do they do? We can get down Taser and the Decadent Dragon. Well, you can go there. You can go there. You can go there. I don't know what they're doing. Well, I know they're doing that. That's fine. They gain a lot of life. Yep, even more. And they put the boots somewhere. Well, let's taste up. And we will just play out our hand. We'll go planes. And this lets us Decadent Dragon. We will not choose attackers. But obviously, Taser goes and comes back. We get another experience counter. Where did they play that from? Did they play that from the top? But I'm not sure. Oh, Elven Chorus. Fine. Yeah, that makes sense. We are going to chump that with the Decadent Dragon. So we'll jump there. We will actually, no, we have another flyer. You. And you. They gain more life. Yeah, it all goes on the reach creature. A Grenzo would be really good. We create more things. I think we fail the Profane, their Luminous Phantom. But yeah, we'll hold off for now. Eventually, our board will get massively big. There is Amara. There's a Scrap Gorger. What are they doing now? giving things lifelink, obviously. Fine. Goodbye. And our opponent scoops. We are going to have such a massive board. So basically, obviously, with Taser, every turn we get a spirit and we get an additional experience counter. So we're going to create loads of allies. And eventually, when we do hit more things like Grenzo or ways to heist our opponent's library, we're just going to have an absolutely massive board. Our opponent goes first. We do have turn 1 Ragavan. But currently, we don't have turn 3 Firelord. We would need an untapped land. Because while these have basic land types, they don't count as a basic land. Right, what are they up to? Let's get down Ragavan. Well, assuming Ragavan survives, actually we could do turn 3 Firelord because we get a treasure. But no. Boo you. We need a land. That's a Cassius welcome. Oh. Shock that in. Don't die. There is Thalia. Well, let us let's get down to Ajani. Oh, nuts. I forgot Thalia makes them enter tapped. Well, we get a land. What do we have? We have 1 black. Let's get a swamp. Oh, they didn't attack. That's interesting. Oh, let's warp the simulacrum. And we do seek a non-land card. And we can play that from exile. Well, let's get down the Sentinel. Let's get down the simulacrum. And well, I think we can just fetch on our end step. Our opponent's been interesting. They've missed a few land drops. And they've missed another one. Obviously, we don't have an issue with lands. Let's just get a Triumph. Let's play our Carnosaur. We discover. That increases everything. And then Firelord Rahilda. Let's swing in. And obviously it doesn't die because of first strike. Very annoying. And yeah, they just struggle with lands. And they didn't draw anything they could play for 4 mana. That's not great deck building, I don't think. Yeah, next turn we play Ozai. Buff our board, we attack with it and everything, and then that would mean Ozai has flying and indestructible. They would block Zuko, but 5, 10, 20, 22, 27, plus an extra 1 on all of those because of Ozai paying it from exile. So, yeah. All right, we go first. We have all our colours. So in Blood Crypt turn 1, Hilda turn 2. Hilda doesn't have haste, unlike Rob of the Rich. But then we can Zuko. Oh, they're just ramping, so we will get in for 2. Let's fetch a Plains. What's that? Bloodsprout Talisman. Huh. Does that give us any mana? Yeah, mana of any type. Well, that's a lot less fun. It did cost them, obviously, a ton of life. Yep. We can Heart Flame Duelist. It only does 3, which is annoying because it can't take out Soul of Windgrace. Bit of Triumph can, obviously. Well, we will take out the Weaver. Yeah, let's get down Zuko again. Hopefully, he survives. Well, they are ramping a lot. It can attack and block now. And there is the Soul of Windgrace. Right, let's get you down. Let's get you dead. And we'll swing in. Oh, I thought that was a white source. That's annoying. I need more ways to get things into exile. We have not drawn many of them this game. And they have an absolutely boatload of lands. They attack with the Stomper. Or do they sacrifice a Stomper? Well, they do. And they draw a lot of cards. Yeah, we really need some ways to exile. Grenzo would be nice, but Grenzo would be nice in every deck. In every hand. Yes, they have tons of lands. They still have 2 mana as well. It's an Elvish Mystic. Well, let's swing in and see what happens. Appa to the rescue! Take that. Let's get down you, and then we'll get down you. And we have a pretty big board. The fact that you can airbend the instant side as well, or cast it for the 2, is pretty good. Boo! I might cycle the Triome on our turn if we don't draw anything really useful. Here comes the Solar Windgrace back again. Can they get a land back? They surveil. We all surveil too. Yeah. They have a couple of mana left. The old theatre. Why is everything suddenly being really slow? Yep, I'll keep that. Good old Discover. Oh, suppose on you. Do you have protection? Oh no, I'm just drawing a card. They can gain 3 life as well. If I had another land. Yeah, well, let's just play out Iganjo. I would have held on to it, but obviously with Firebending, we wouldn't have any white mana anyway. Yeah, that just basically saves them. Right, let's cycle. Everything's just gone really slow. I don't know if that's me. Great. Yeah, that safekeeping. Oh, I didn't quite save them then because I only gave them 2 life, so they would have been at 1. Well, they're at 3. They don't have any cards in hand. Oh, yeah. One thing's getting through. The first Metal Bender is a very powerful commander, and we have Crap plans. This is better. We do need more lands. Why did we shock that in? I don't know. That was weird. Let's get down our Robber of the Rich. Brawl Signet. So let's get down Zuko. I'm swinging again. I actually would quite like to hit that Utopia Sprawl. Let's see what they do. Well, let's cast this now. Since basically 3 mana. Let's get down. Let's do a carry added. Oh, obviously, we can't actually cast Utopia Sprawl because we don't have a forest. Next turn, we can get down the Charred Foyer, but they could also just go off. If we draw a land, we could Grenzo. Well, as an untapped land, it's a tap land, unfortunately. Let's get down Urablask. Sure, for now. They lose their card, their draw step. Don't kill our commander. We know we'll exile the Elegant Parlor or draw it and then exile something else. That's pretty good. Maybe we should put that into our deck. They just go to their end step. There's a land, and there's another land. We'll play out this. Oh, I probably should have played that Grenzo first. Sure. We will heist. Probably the only thing we can actually cast. Oh yeah, it does gain hexproof as well. Well, they can block pretty easily, but they can double block a Robber of the Rich. Yeah, they do that. But they are down to 6. What do they have? They hit an Ashaya, which they can cast. One, two, three, four. Can they? Ooh, that's pretty good. Can destroy it though with Get Lost. Obviously they get it back. But now they only have one blocker. They do get to do some damage to us. Now they only have two blockers. Yeah, we'll get a Lotus Cobra. And we draw Legend of Roku. Well, let's get down you. See what we exile. Well, let's Aaron Mesa. Buff our board. And I think this is lethal, but we do need more. Take out you. Take out you. And we hit in for 19, 24, 32. Not bad at all. Well, we're up against Infinite Guideline Station, and if they have Laelia and the Guild Pact, we're in trouble. But we do have a turn 1 Ragavan. And then a turn 2 Robber of the Rich. And we have all our colours in 3 separate lands. Wow. There it is. Let's kill Reese. Get in with Ragavan. Sure. That was a pretty good, lucky hit. There's a Root Core Creeper. And let's get down our Fire Lord. And let's get down our Robber of the Rich. And we swing in. We hit a double in season. They don't block at all. We can Grave Expectations on their end step. As far as they didn't get rid of Ragavan. We will heist our opponent's library. I think we just take Llanowar Elves. Let's Elves. Let's Bone Crush the Giant. Let's swing in. We could flash the Angel in, but there's no real point. But we will cast their Goldforge Thopteryx. Gives our legendary creatures Ward 2. And our opponent scoops.